Yo, what is up everybody? It is Riley's Redzone here, and in today's video, I will be predicting who will win each Week 6 NFL game. I will be breaking down every game, predicting who will win, and kind of predicting who will have a big game and who will have a huge impact player by player. Now, last week, I didn't do the best, probably the worst I've done so far this year, as I went 8-6, but I'm still 51-25 on the season, which I think is pretty good. Now, it's very interesting. This week there was no Thursday Night Football. Normally, you can see the Thursday night game picks I normally do on my Twitter, @RileyRedzone, so you should go check that out. But this week there was no Thursday Night Football, as we got Tuesday Night Football from last week, and it's kind of fortunate for me because I've actually gotten the last, I think, since week 1, every Thursday night game wrong. So at least I'm not down 0-1 to start the week. So hopefully I can get some more right this week, but I will be breaking down all the games. Also, one thing I'm going to note, in last week's video, I mentioned that I thought the Titans-Bills game could get moved, but in fact it was the Patriots Broncos that was moved. So that game moved to this week, and then a lot of other games moved, but they haven't affected us yet as they kind of shifted just future games. So if any of the games get canceled this week, you can count them off the record for now, but any game that gets played, unless it's a tie, it counts towards anything. And we've only had one tie this season, and I've done a lot of research that if there is a tie, it just kind of offsets and it cancels the game. So with that being said, let's get right into the game picks. Texans Titans. Now, the Titans looked outstanding on Tuesday. They started to get Derrick Henry going, and he had the nastiest stiff arm I've ever seen in my life. But with that being said, they've looked very, very good, especially, after having that long of a, supposedly not practicing, I should say. They looked very in sync, and they seemed, like they didn't skip a beat. And the Texans, on the other hand, I've been a fan of how the Texans, not how they're built, obviously, the Hopkins trade was terrible, but I thought they'd do okay this year after their first 3 weeks, because they literally played the top 3 teams in the AFC, in my opinion. But they actually fired Bill O'Brien, and I'm not surprised by that move, but I was kind of more surprised about the timing. He never deserved the GM title, never. But I was kind of shocked they fired him that early into the season. I had a feeling he probably would be fired this year, but I didn't think it was going to be that early. But I really think they feel good with Romeo Crennel there as the interim head coach. So this could be an upset game, but I really think the Titans are doing very, very well. I predicted the Texans win last week, and they did against the Jaguars. But this week, I think the Titans get a victory and stay undefeated. Football team versus Giants. Now, these are two of some of the worst teams in football. It's them, the Jets, maybe the Broncos are up there. Those are some of the worst teams. So this is going to be very interesting, and I doubt many people will be watching this game unless you are a fan of either of these two teams. But with that being said, both have shown little flashes, but this is definitely both two teams that are struggling. Now, the football team have a very interesting quarterback situation. I loved Haskins coming out of Ohio State. He has not looked great so far, but I was very shocked that they benched him so early. But with that being said, they put in Kyle Allen, and he ended up being hurt, and they put in Alex Smith, which is awesome to see that he's come back from his injury. I don't know whether he's going to maybe get some playing time this week, but I definitely think it would be cool if he did. I think he is, honestly, right now, even with the injury. I think if he is closer to full strength, I think, which obviously you can't say that much with, how scary of an injury it was, and just congratulations to Alex Smith for fighting back through that. That's just awesome. That he was able to come back from such a crazy injury. But honestly, I think if he is closer to full strength, I think he is the best quarterback for this team. And I've been I predicted them a few weeks ago against the Browns. I don't think they pulled off the upset, but I really believe in the culture that they're starting to build with Ron Rivera, even with this, questionable quarterback situation. So I really believe in this team as kind of just an underdog that can maybe pull off some trap games. Now, the Giants, on the other hand, they are missing Saquon Barkley. But Devontae Freeman's been okay. That was a nice pickup for them. But Daniel Jones was not a fan of him coming out of Duke, and it's still really showing. He needs to just clean up the turnovers. I mean, when not only interceptions but fumbles. I mean, I'm going to say it again. He's not quite as good Kirk Cousins at full potential. If he fully develops, he's going to be a little below where Kirk Cousins has been the last few years. So I don't love that for the future of their franchise with him. So I'm taking the football team and technically an upset in this game just because I really think they'll rally around the team. But this could go either way, and they're both not very good teams. But I'm taking the upset here and predicting the football team to win. Falcons Vikings, and as a Vikings fan, it was very heartbreaking to see how the game ended last week, but I still give credit. Honestly, in my opinion, this is the first time I'll be talking about this since the game. I think it was the right decision for Zimmer to go for it. But it's not the decision, though, of going for it that was the issue, and it's not that Madison missed the hole or, that was wide open on the play. It's that the reason you go for that play against the Seahawks is that if you're a Mike Zimmer, you are you're calling the plays on defense. And the only reason you take that chance is because you believe, worst case scenario, you can stop Russell Wilson from going, 80 yards and getting it because you're pretty much the leader of that defense. You're calling the plays. So, and then to put a rookie corner on DK Metcalf just was a mistake. So the decision to go for it was not it. It was more, I would still put the loss on Zimmer, though. But I think they can bounce back this week. If they can figuratively, maybe against this team, if they can figuratively get the running game going right away, they might not even have to throw, to Jefferson or Thielen too much. They might be able to just run it straight with Alexander Madison. With Dalvin Cook out and just get the time of possession and that type of thing. Falcons, this will be the first game without Dan Quinn. I can understand that firing. They missed their Super Bowl window. They kind of reached their potential. And so this could be a trap game. Maybe they rally around their interim head coach, but I think that the Vikings are able to kind of take a bounce back here and step up and get the win. And I think soon they're going to have to decide if they need to blow up the team, with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and just start building for the future. So that'll be interesting to see. But I think the Vikings get a bounce back win here and start to go back on the right track. Bears, Panthers. Now, of course, the first week, last week, I picked against the Bears. They win. So I am picking the Bears again this week. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game. This is going to be a close one, in my opinion. Now, the Panthers, I will say I haven't been a huge fan of this year, and I think they're doing a great job with what they have. People need to understand that Matt Rule is doing a great job, and they weren't expected, to be doing this well so far. And that's what one of my goals is going to be, to say, even if they struggle, Matt Rule is making a culture change and, getting the defense the way he needs it to be. So he is doing a great job with what he has. Now, the Bears, kind of, honestly, they've gotten a little lucky with who they've played, but hey, they're, they only have one loss. They're 4-1. The quarterback situation is terrible. I mean, I was very shocked they switched to Trubisky switch out of Trubisky so soon. This is kind of a quick summary of how I think it should have went. I think that going into the season, Foles was the better player than Trubisky, but then once you go with Trubisky, now, I guess going with Foles, got them a win against Atlanta. But as I've talked about many times, the off-the-bench factor is real. So when they do that, that's kind of, they got them a win. But I think to flip that quickly off of Trubisky was kind of surprising. And we've seen Foles kind of struggle a little bit these last few weeks. He looked good against the Falcons, but against the Colts and the Bucs, they got a win against the Bucs, but he did not look very good. So I will say honestly, I know this might be too much flipping around, but if the Bears don't get a win this week or if Foles struggles again, you honestly might need to look at Trubisky again. And I know Bears fans, that pride doesn't sound too good, but I think they kind of need to, this season you're going to have to understand that you might honestly need to change it up and go with the off-the-bench factor because neither quarterback is going to be good enough, in my opinion, to lead you to a Super Bowl. So maybe the combination of the two can. And of course, you can say no, 2 quarterbacks is not 1, and that's always true. So I don't even think they make a push even with that, but that might have to be their best move because I don't think either of their quarterbacks are good now or for the futures. But I still think they get a win this week. And after saying all that, I still think they get a win. This is technically an upset, but I think the Bears just have momentum right now, even though it's in Carolina. I think they have a lot of momentum going, and their defense with Khalil Mack is looking very good. And the Panthers, once again, they're going to be good here in a few years, but right now they just need a little bit of time to develop. So for this week, I'm picking the Bears. Lions, Jags, 2 teams I don't think are great, but for this week, I am picking the Lions, even though they are away. Gardner Minshew has been on and off. It's good to see them getting James Robinson going, though, as an undrafted rookie. But I think that for right now, the Lions, with getting Kenny Golladay back after the bye, I think they end up with a win here with Matthew Stafford. I think that this is going to be a kind of a close one, not a real entertaining matchup. It could go down to the wire, though. But I think the Lions pull off. These are, once again, both not great teams, to be honest. But I think that the Lions pull off the win here. They are, I believe, favored in this game, so that's not technically a surprise, but I think the Lions get a win here. Browns, Steelers. Now, this is very interesting to me that the Steelers are only favored by 3.5, and they are undefeated right now, which is very shocking. And I will say it again, I think the Steelers have the best defense in the NFL. With T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward, Joe Hayden, you can keep on going. They have a lot of great players, and I think their defense is the best overall unit in football. Now, once again, I just am shocked they're only favored to win by 3.5. Ben Roethlisberger has looked very good. Even if Juju hasn't been what they've expected, if they can get Chase Claypool continuously doing what he did last Sunday, and I know he's not going to score 4 touchdowns a game, but if they can even get anything out of him, and then once they get Deontay Johnson back, this offense, and James Conner's been good too, and he's not hurt. I mean, this is a great overall team. And remember, they're undefeated. It's them and the Titans in the AFC. I think the Steelers have been very underrated, and I've been a fan of the way this team is going to do this year for a while. And the Browns, honestly, what I'm going to say is credit to them for being 4-1, but this is why I'm shocked they're only favored by 3.5, the Steelers are, is I am not a huge fan of the Browns this year. And I mean, they're proving me wrong so far being 4-1, so credit to Kevin Stefanski. He's got to be a Coach of the Year candidate, but I don't think they get it done in the long stretch. Maybe a borderline playoff team could sneak in there with the 7th spot or maybe even the 6th spot, but I think the Steelers get a win, and I personally think it's by a lot more than 3.5. It could be wrong, but I think that they get a pretty dominant win this week and stay undefeated. Bengals, Colts. Now, I've loved the way that Joe Burrow has looked so far, but unfortunately the team around him has not been the same, specifically the offensive line. Joe Mixon's a great running back, and you've got some good receivers. A.J. Green has not looked like himself, but even without that, you've got Tyler Boyd, and T. Higgins has looked very good as a rookie. But the offensive line is just not helping him out, and I really think Cincinnati, Burrow's your future. He's looked very good, so even if you struggle this year, just know, he's going to develop. He's looking very good so far. And on the Indianapolis side, once again, kind of like the Browns, another team that I'm not a huge fan of this year. Phillip Rivers, I liked the signing. I definitely did, but they're doing exactly what I thought they would. With Phillip Rivers, I knew they'd be better, but I don't think they're going to be a top playoff team. I'm shocked even that they have the wins they do. But we saw it last week against the Browns. I predicted the Browns to win, and once again, that was the battle of the 2 teams I thought were overrated. But I picked the Browns, and I was right about that one, as Phillip Rivers really, really struggled. He had a few just picks that were not good at all. But this week, once again, the Bengals just, I think, are struggling in the offensive line. They're still getting it together with, Zach Taylor, but I think that the Bengals show potential, but not right now. The Colts, I think, are overrated, but I think they get a win against kind of a injured, well, not really injured, but kind of just struggling. They've got some injuries, though, for the Bengals. I know Sam Hubbard at defensive end is kind of a big loss for them, so they're kind of recovering, but I still think the Colts, even though I don't love their team this year, pull off a win against the Bengals. Ravens, Eagles. Now the Ravens have not looked, Lamar has not looked like what he was last year necessarily, but that was kind of to be expected, but he's still a top quarterback. And then the run game also, they're giving it to 3 different guys, so if you have any of them in fantasy, and I do have Mark Ingram, and I have J.K. Dobbins in another one, you don't want any of them necessarily to be your starting guys because they're really splitting up the carries. So if they can get that run game going, they're going to be really good. I still think they get this win here against the Eagles. Now, the Eagles, I've picked many times, and they've been very disappointing. Wentz is starting to recover, but I'm still shocked that they started so slow. But they're making it work too with Travis Fulgham. A guy he was on the Lions, and I think even the Packers signed him for like a solid 2 days even, and then they cut him. He's looked really good for the Eagles at wide receiver with them now. Alshon Jeffrey's out again, and Deshaun Jackson is still kind of banged up, and Jalen Reagor, he's really stepped up when they needed him here, so that's good to see. But I overall think that the Ravens are just too good of a team against this Eagles team right now, especially with all the injuries the Eagles still have, and their offensive line is injured too. It's just not looking very good for them. So for this week, I'm taking the Ravens over the Eagles. Broncos, Patriots. Now, once again, this game was supposed to be last week, but they moved it to this week. And once again, as I predicted last week, and I guess this just translates to this week, I'm taking the Patriots. I think that I don't know. I believe Cam actually is able to come back this week. But even if he isn't, I think they get a win. But Cam, I will say it again. I'm saying this again. Cam, if he's with the Patriots full strength, if this Patriots team is healthy, I think that they still could beat the Bills, for example, in their own division. And right now the Bills might be a better team, but when Cam gets back in for a few weeks, I really think that this Patriots team can really beat some of these top teams. So I think you can't write them out yet at all. Broncos just are way too injured right now. Even if Drew Lock starts to come back, they're just, without Cortland Sutton, without Von Miller, they're really struggling with some of these guys. And Melvin Gordon now has had some injuries and issues off the field. Philip Lindsay's coming back at least. That's good. But, yeah, they're all over with injuries. It seems this year, normally every year it seems it's always like the Chargers, Eagles, and Niners always have injuries. And this year you got to add the Broncos onto. They've gotten really unlucky. So, this week I think the Patriots get a win with or without Cam Newton. They get a win against this injury Broncos team. Jets, Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins last week came out of nowhere against the 49ers. They looked really good. Meanwhile, the Jets are the Jets. The worst team in football right now. You can't even debate it, in my opinion. Joe Flacco is starting again for the Jets. Darnold's hurt again. I can't believe it. And the fact that they got rid of Adam Gase, they better get rid of Adam Gase by the end of the season, but the fact that they got rid of Le'Veon Bell before they got rid of Adam Gase is just beyond me. I cannot believe that. As a Le'Veon Bell, I'm going to quick talk about Le'Veon Bell kind of in this sense that I have been a negative Le'Veon Bell, for example, in fantasy forever, every year. I've never taken him in a fantasy league, and I'm in on an average for a year. I have never taken him until this year. I took him in 3 out of 4 because his value started to drop. You know why? Because he's on the New York Jets. And they cut him after he, quote-unquote, is struggling, and yes, he wasn't doing the best, but you're the New York Jets. You have the worst offensive line in the league, probably. You could debate it. The worst surrounding core, I should say. Jamison Crowder's been the one bright spot, and, he's a slot receiver. And I really hope, Jets fans, that in one way you need Trevor Lawrence to be your future, or some young quarterback, him or Fields, but you put another young quarterback in this situation, it's still not going to work. they're going to be handing off to 45-year-old Frank Gore by the time, I just can't believe the way this Jets team is made. So, with going all that, I'm taking the Dolphins. The question begins, will the Jets get a win this season if they still keep Adam Gase? I don't know. But this week, I'm taking the Dolphins. So, Dolphins win over the Jets. And here is your matchup of the week, the game I personally think should have been Sunday Night Football. It's Packers and Bucks. Now, these two teams are, obviously we get to see a Rodgers-Brady matchup. That's exciting. It's a 3:25 game, so this is going to be, on national TV. But the Packers are favored by 1, and I think that's about accurate. I think that they'll win by a little bit more than that. The Packers have looked so good. Even coming off a bye week here, they're going to get Devontae Adams healthy again. They look very good. Aaron Rodgers is playing like it's him and Russell Wilson are playing like the best quarterbacks in football right now. They're getting Aaron Jones going, and once again having Devontae Adams back. That's huge. And for the Bucks, yes, getting Chris Godwin back helps, but honestly, I think they haven't quite lived up to the hype, but they're still very good. So this should be an awesome game to watch. But I think the Packers have enough star power here on defense to actually get the win. I think they're able to just disrupt Brady enough to maybe get something going there on defense. I really think the Packers, it's them and the Seahawks who are the best right now in the NFC. So they're Super Bowl contenders. I really think that the Packers here get a win. I think they win by more than 1, but this should be the game of the week, a classic one in Tampa Bay. Sunday Night Football, we've got Rams versus Niners. Now, this is the game I'm probably the least confident in, and I am taking an upset here. And could I come to regret this decision? Yes, but you miss every shot you don't take. So if you don't take any upsets, you're going to get some wrong. So I am picking the Niners, even though Jimmy Garoppolo did not look good last week. They had to bench him, and Nick Mullins has not looked good, and C.J. Beathard has looked okay, I guess. I'm taking them in an upset here. They're at home. I think Kittle is coming back, and he can be enough. But the Rams, definitely, they could win this game. Goff has looked pretty good. Their receivers are always good, as always. But I think this is just kind of a gut feeling here. I think the Niners pull off an upset. This is unpredictable. It's an upset. Nobody's really predicting this, but I am just taking a shot in the dark, and it's just kind of a feeling that I think the Niners win. You can put this on, any quote that, I'm completely wrong, but for this week, I'm taking the Niners in an upset here. Very interesting. The Niners have really underperformed for what I thought. I thought they would once again be a top team in the NFC, probably one of the top in their division, but they've kind of struggled. And obviously, though, that's with a lot of injuries. I also think Raheem Mostert is going to succeed. He's doing very well, and I think he rolls through again. So this is once again just kind of a gut feeling here. So I'm taking the Niners in an upset over the Los Angeles Rams. Then we have the first of the 2 Monday games, and this one is Chiefs-Bills, 2 good teams, and they're both one-loss teams that almost were undefeated. I'm so shocked the Chiefs lost to the Raiders, and I think that kind of just got in their head, and I think they're going to bounce back and really perform well. Now, Le'Veon Bell cannot play, but still, even with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they're getting McCole Hardman going. They're really just a firepower on offense, and I can't wait to see what it's going to look like with Bell as well. And the Bills are a team I thought was overrated going into the season. They have outperformed what I thought they would, but I kind of expected it in the way that I knew that I think they're not quite as good of a team as their record shows, and I know that's kind of difficult to say, but I think that it makes sense they're this record based on who they've played. I think they're up there, but when you get into these tough matchups, I don't think they beat the Chiefs, I don't think they beat the Ravens, I don't think they beat the Steelers, let's say, in the playoffs, I don't think they beat the Titans, and I personally don't even think they beat the Patriots at full strength. If the Patriots have Cam and everything. So I think they're a little overrated still, but they are very good. Josh Allen is playing at an almost MVP level. So this should be an awesome one to watch. I'm taking the Chiefs as I think they really are going to be motivated to bounce back. But this should be a great game to watch. Last game of the week, we have the Monday Night Football game, Cardinals versus Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, obviously, Dak got hurt in a horrific injury last week. I was watching that live, and prayers up for Dak. I believe he's doing pretty well so far in recovery, and it was, in one way, you really saw who Dak is. He's an outstanding. He will fight through just about anything. You could tell. Even seeing all the things, like, he tried to put his ankle back in place the second he knew it was, like, he has a lot of motivation and a lot of talent, and you can say what you want about him. You can say that, a lot of guys are better, but as a true competitor of football, he's up there at the top. So, hope he recovers well, but for right now, the Cowboys are going with Andy Dalton. Now, I think, will be okay. I think they're not going to do terrible. Honestly, here's my game changer player. You could call this the upside player of the week. He could do nothing. But my prediction is that Michael Gallup goes for a breakout game. I think that the end of last week's game kind of showed Dalton, when he needed a big play, who did he go to? He went to Michael Gallup twice. They've got Amari Cooper. They've got CeeDee Lamb. They've got Zeke out the backfield. They've got Dalton Schultz at tight end right now. But he went to Michael Gallup a few times, and he performed well, which means I think he's going to be gaining trust with Andy Dalton right now, which is big for, Michael Gallup. If he's been kind of hot and cold, I think he really does well. But with that being said, the Cardinals, I really like the Cardinals. I love Kyler Murray. I think he is one of the future stars of this league. Going into the season, had him as probably my MVP favorite. But just things haven't done quite as expected, and they're a little below average. But hear me out here. They've had a very tough schedule, and no matter what their record is, do not fire Cliff Kingsbury or anything like that. They're just starting to get going. So I don't think it necessarily this year the Cowboys, the Cardinals, are kind of gonna, make a playoff push or anything like that, but in the future I think they do. So the Cowboys, I think this week are able to get a win. It's very close. Right now it's a 1-point favorite for the Cardinals. I could see that. But for this week, I think that the Cowboys get the win. Fighting, they're motivated for Dak. But I think Dalton gets it done. Just as he's going to manage the situation, and I think they pull off a win against the Cardinals. Thank you so much for watching this week's edition of Game Picks. Make sure to click the subscribe button if you enjoy weekly football content. Make sure you hit the like button if you enjoyed this video specifically. Comment down below if you may disagree or you agree with any of the picks here. Let me know what you guys think, and if you have any bold predictions or anything like that. And also comment down below what other content you'd like me to make. I'm trying to make sure I get weekly game picks, but also mixing in my podcast, which is the Redzone Review. You can find that on Spotify, Apple, Google, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. And also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Riley Redzone, for specifically on Twitter to start some exclusive content, my Thursday night picks. I'm trying to always get there because I normally don't get these videos out by that game. And with that, I am very busy right now. This week I've gotten a little extra time, which is great. That's how I was able to get an extra podcast episode. But know that I'll have to put some updates on Twitter, as it's very busy, but I'm trying my best to at least get a video out every week. But let me know what type of content you guys want to see, and then that kind of lets me know what I need to be putting my time towards. So thank you so much for listening or watching this weekly game pick video, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.